Imagine being so damn cursed that a simple high five could send someone 6 feet under. That's the Duke's whole miserable life, trapped in a spooky mansion, cursed by some salty witch, and forced into permanent social distancing. But his maid Alice? That girl gives zero cares. She flirts, she teases, and she makes sure this poor guy never knows peace. It's a wild mix of awkward moments, chaotic energy, and just enough heart to keep you hooked. A story of curses, love, and why beefing with witches is a terrible idea. Now, smash that sub button, slap that like, and let's dive in. A cursed brat rotting away in some godforsaken mansion, scribbles a letter to his family like they'd ever give a damn. Not that it matters, his touch straight up kills. Courtesy of some vengeful witch with a stick up her ass. No clue why she cursed him, but now he's stuck in exile, dodging death with every breath. His only company? Alice, his menace of a maid, who treats his tragic life like her personal playground. She flirts, taunts, and even shoves a damn cookie between her lips, daring him to take a bite, just to watch him suffer. His past? Pure hell. Cursed at 5, tossed out by his own mother like garbage, and dumped in a mansion where even trees ain't safe. One accidental touch and boom, they wither to dust. Alice, still unfazed, she hikes up her skirt for laughs, ignoring his desperate warnings to stop tempting him. Then morning hits, and she's shoving breakfast at him while dropping a bomb. His old friend Philip is coming over. He freaks, begs to cancel, but tough luck. That bastard's already on his way. Bro is acting like he is getting a presidential visit.
You gotta understand that feeling of being a loner, cut off from the world.
Are you describing yourself? The cursed boy hesitates, questioning if he even remembers this bastard Philip. Alice? Oh, she remembers. His so-called childhood friend, the little menace who used to chuck bugs and all sorts of crap at him for fun. With that in mind, the boy ditches his usual rags and suits up, demanding Alice get lost so he can change in peace. But Alice, being the menace she is, refuses. Hell, she even offers to strip down if that'd make things fair. In the end, she wins, and he begrudgingly changes with her watching like it's a damn show. While fixing his tie, Alice gets way too close, forcing him to bark at her to back off. Not just from him, but from Philip too. No way in hell does he want another man seeing even a glimpse of her bare skin. Alice, smug as ever, assures him she only plays these little games for him. Then Philip finally arrives, looking a little spooked, rolling up with his men like he's stepping into enemy territory. The cursed boy leads them inside, but the whole vibe is awkward as hell. Philip walking on eggshells, trying not to set him off. Then comes the bathroom excuse. Philip asks for directions, and Alice offers to guide him. But once they're alone, Philip makes his move, stopping Alice in her tracks, offering her a way out. A job somewhere far from this cursed place, away from the so-called monster she serves. His voice drips with concern, but the insult couldn't be clearer. Philip isn't just scared for Alice. He's scared of the childhood friend he once tormented. Boshan storms in, shutting Philip down before he spews more crap about Alice. Philip flinches, shoving his stick forward to keep distance, then drops the real reason for his visit. He never wanted to come. His mother sent him not out of concern, but to deliver the final blow. Everything is going to his brother, and the family is cutting ties completely. Philip throws one last dagger, saying he won't be back, then walks out like he just buried a corpse. The boy swallows the pain, acting unbothered, ordering Alice to prep dinner. Later, alone with his thoughts, the weight of his curse drags him down. No family, no future, just exile and decay. Alice interrupts, calling him to eat. As they walk, he finally mutters what's been clawing at him, admitting his uselessness. Alice, unfazed, smirks and promises they'll break his damn curse together. Bohan buries himself in a book about his wretched curse, trapped in the reality of never touching a soul. Alice, ever the menace, snaps him out of it with relentless compliments, making his skin crawl. Just as the torture continues, Rob finally drags himself in after nursing his ancient back, apologizing for the long absence before jumping back to work. The old man even chuckles at the chaos Alice brings. Rob moves to the garden, working like a machine, which worries Boken, but Alice brushes it off. Moments later, Rob knocks, already done, hauling in tea like he didn't just break his spine outside. Boken orders him to ease up and split duties with Alice. Before leaving, Alice throws in her usual teasing, lifting her skirt just enough to make his life miserable. Later, Boken dodges as Rob reaches for him, reminding the old man his touch is a death sentence. Rob, ever confident, immediately proves himself wrong when his back gives out, sending him crashing to the floor. Alice rushes to his aid while Boken moves on, focusing on writing a piano score. If his family ditches him for good, he'll at least have a way to survive. Playing a ballad, he admits he wrote it for Alice, who gets too close, forcing him to order her back. Instead, she bends over the fireplace in a way that has him struggling not to stare. Defeated, he lets her listen. Exhausted, Bohan naps, telling Alice to wake him for dinner. Meanwhile, at the family palace, his little sister Viola ditches the dining hall, ordering a carriage. She storms into Bokan's mansion, leaving him fuming at Alice for letting her in. With zero shame, Viola lounges, throwing a list of lavish dishes at Alice while Bokan glares. He knows she's here for amusement, nothing more. When she catches him eyeing her, she fires back, accusing him of liking younger girls, making his blood boil. Girl, Bokchan is not a Minecraft YouTuber. He's not into young girls.
Who said that Minecraft YouTubers are only into young girls and not boys?
Alice soon returns with Viola's ridiculous feast. As she turns to leave, Viola smirks, catching the way Bokchan's eyes linger on Alice a little too long. She calls him out on it, and Bokchan, too exhausted to lie, admits he likes Alice. Viola immediately shifts into a self-proclaimed love expert, offering to teach teach him the Viola method. Everyone has insecurities, she claims, using her round face as an example. She tells Bokan to hide his dark circles to appear more appealing, but instead of just covering his eyes, he ends up shrouding his entire face like a cursed goblin. After stuffing herself, Viola finally prepares to leave. Before stepping out, she urges Bokan to break his curse and return home. Bokan is caught off guard by the sudden sentiment, but Viola quickly shrugs it off as simple concern. As she swings the door open, she slams straight into Rob, turning into a useless mess. When Rob dryly asks why she's here, Viola, batting her lashes like a fool, claims she came for him. Rob, unimpressed, tells her to be careful before she gets air in her eye. Squealing like a love-struck idiot, Viola hops into her carriage and vanishes. Later that day, Boshan's scream tears through the mansion, sending Alice rushing to his aid, only to find him cowering from a cat. Amused, Alice starts petting the creature, while Bokan wipes the horror off his face. The cat, unimpressed, locks eyes with Bokan before launching itself off Alice and straight at him. In the process, it shreds Alice's maid outfit, giving her yet another excuse to torment him. Rob appears, immediately sprinting after the cat like a man on a mission. Once he catches it, Bokan sighs in relief, only for Rob to casually pet the little menace and set it free. The cat then lunges at Bokan again, snagging onto his bolo tie. That's when Rob notices a note attached to its collar. Reading it, Bokan realizes the cat has been abandoned, just like him. Later that night, he stands on the balcony, lost in thought. Alice appears, and Bokan tells her that this very room once held Rob and Sharon, her mother, dancing together. He then asks Alice for a dance. She refuses at first, demanding he ask properly. After he does, they share a dance, never touching, yet somehow closer than ever. Bored out of his mind, Bokan picks up a snooker cue, only for Alice to slink up way too close, enjoying his discomfort. Deciding to turn the tables, he challenges her to a match with a simple rule. The loser obeys the winner's request. Bokan dominates the game, victory within his grasp. But just as he lines up his final shot, Alice turns on the charm, throwing him off so badly he botches the shot and hands her the win. Bracing for whatever torment she has planned, Bokan is thrown off when she simply asks him to take her to town. Turns out, there's a costume festival. Later that day, Alice steps out in a gothic-style dress, looking like she walked straight out of a vampire's dreams, while Bokan skulks beside her in a plague doctor outfit, hiding his wounded pride behind the mask. Reminds me of the bubonic plague.
Not gonna lie, the doctors during the bubonic plague had some of the best drips mankind has ever seen.
Bokan struggles in his bulky plague doctor costume, losing Alice in the chaotic festival crowd. Meanwhile, Alice crosses paths with a masked woman who mistakes her for Sharon, her mother. Before Alice can ask what's going on, the woman bolts, leaving her even more confused. Wandering alone, Bokan stumbles upon a crying boy, lost just like him. Spotting a piano nearby, he plays a soothing melody, calming the boy's nerves. The music draws in the crowd, and the once tense atmosphere turns into a lively celebration. As Bokan wonders where Alice is, she appears, and they walk together through the festival. But the townspeople view him as a cursed figure, whispering about him being the death incarnate. Unsettled, Bokan admits to Alice that he's just a boy cursed by fate. To lighten the mood, Alice suggests they climb the clock tower. At the top, Bokan is entranced by the glowing moon, and Alice begins a fairy tale about a princess who loved the moon. The princess, engaged to a prince, was tricked by a witch who banished him to the moon. Each night, the princess kissed the moon, hoping for his return. Bokan jokes about the prince having an adventure in space, but then opens up, telling Alice that, like the princess, they're both too close, yet too far, unable to touch because of his curse. Bokan, flustered, confesses his love to Alice, but apologizes for not being able to get closer. Alice promises to wait for him no matter what. Back from the festival, Bokan finds Alice wrapped in a blanket and awkwardly tells her to dress modestly. She teasingly agrees, dresses, and invites him in, planning to make him feel at ease. Just when Bokan expects something sweet, Alice asks to fall asleep. After a playful tease, Alice reassures him she'll stay by his side. As he drifts into sleep, Bokan asks for a date. A few days later, Alice is with Bokan on a boat, excited for the meteor shower he promised. She's thrilled to have him all to herself until a gust of wind blows his hat away. As Alice tries to catch it, she falls into the river. Worried, Bokan reaches to help, but Alice, ever bold, asks for a kiss. He refuses, reminding her she'd die if he kissed her. Alice, undeterred, says she'd gladly die for him. He still refuses, and she pushes him into the water in playful revenge. Soaked and frustrated, Bokan grumbles about her intentions, but Alice mockingly apologizes, saying he needed a swim anyway. The meteor shower over, they head to shore, clothes dripping. Bokan, defeated, admits he wanted to confess, but suggests they call it a night, the moment lost. The next day, Alice suddenly becomes distant, ignoring Bokan like a cat who's been bathed, cold and indifferent. Bokan, anxious and confused, tries to lighten the mood by offering a Charlie Chaplin impersonation. Alice doesn't even flinch, coldly retorting, "Has your mother's neglect finally driven you to madness?" Bokan, desperate, asks if it's because of last night, but Alice simply says she's fine, which only frustrates him more. He shouts that when a girl says she's fine, she's almost never fine. Still, Alice walks away, leaving him helpless. Frustrated, Bokan considers finding new hobbies, but an idea strikes him. He turns to Rob, asking him to touch Alice on his behalf. Rob, confused, sarcastically asks if he should bring over a chair for Bokan to watch. Flustered, Bokan clarifies that he just wants Rob to check Alice's forehead. Rob confirms it. Alice has a fever and has been keeping her distance distance to protect him. Realizing her concern, Bokan helps Alice to her room and promises to support her through her recovery. Alice, as blunt as ever, tells him she'd rather have a warm bowl of soup than his support. A few days later, Alice is back to her teasing ways, and the cold, snowy weather leaves Bokan feeling down. To cheer him up, Alice gives him a scarf she knitted herself. The scent of her perfume on it makes Bokan feel warm inside. They head outside to enjoy the snow, joined by Rob, and soon, a fierce snowball fight ensues. Watching Alice throw snowballs with deadly accuracy, Bokan imagines her as a war hero in snowball combat. After a fun day, Bokan refuses to take off the scarf, feeling close to Alice. Suddenly, Alice panics when one of her earrings goes missing. It's a precious heirloom from her late mother. Bokan rushes to find it, but the bitter wind knocks him out in the snow. Meanwhile, a bat hovering above sees the mansion and lands to search for food. Transforming into a human, the creature finds Bokan unconscious and wakes him. Bokan explains he's searching for the earring to help Alice, but the cold overtakes him and he faints again. My guy is probably high on snow. That's the only reason anyone can faint this much.
Not everyone is a drug addict like you, dude.
Seeing Bokan struggling for Alice, the stranger uses fire magic to melt the snow and hands him the earring, introducing herself as Cuff, the witch. She says she can't break his curse. It's beyond her power. Bokan invites her to the manor, where Cuff demands to be taken to the bathroom. As the girls leave, Bokan wonders if they're getting along. The thought of Alice making a new friend puts him in such a good mood that he starts dancing and singing. Cuff returns demanding food. As they eat, she explains how she got separated from her friend and was starving in the cold. After devouring an absurd amount of food, Cuff talks about witch kind, but admits she doesn't know the witch who cursed him. She reveals that witches are regularly hunted by witch hunters and that she and her friend lost their parents to them. Cuff, whose father was human, shares how she was an outcast, shunned by both witches and humans. After finishing her story, Cuff says no more, fearing she'd overshare. With a bittersweet smile, she wishes her friend were there to help her. Hearing her speak so fondly of her friend, Bashan remarks that Cuff must care about him deeply. This shuts her up immediately, and she leaves the mansion in a huff. The next morning, Alice sees the snowman Bokan made and reflects on her time as a maid. It was Bakan's kindness when she was struggling that made her feelings for him grow. The next day, Alice rolls in with Bakan's tea and rips on his awful outfit. Bakan's actually happy to get a compliment from the one person who doesn't treat him like dirt. He asks if she doesn't get bored of wearing the same stuff every day, offering to hook her up with new clothes. Alice, not missing a beat, casually drops that she changes her undies daily, completely ignoring what he was asking. Viola shows up next, all ready to see Bokan, and as usual, Rob greets her like a freaking gentleman. She turns into a blushing mess, imagining spending all her time with him. As soon as Rob leaves, Bokan has a field day teasing Viola about her embarrassing crush. Viola's quick with a comeback, saying boys her age are brainless, and age ain't a thing for her. Annoyed with her brother, she decides to mess with Alice instead. When Alice brings in some sweets, Viola zooms over to her, sizing her up like a piece of meat. She flat out tells Alice she's missing some serious charm and could use a makeover. Acting like she's the queen of fashion, Viola offers to help Alice level up. A little while later, Viola has Alice show off some new face expression to Bokan. As soon as Alice does, Bokan's all over her, calling her beautiful. Viola's smug as hell and suggests she rewards herself by hanging out with Rob. She pitches the idea of making dough with him, and the kitchen's instantly full of awkward tension as Viola flirts with Rob, joking about them looking like they just tied the knot. Viola is really trying to hit on a man at least 4 times her age, huh?
And then she was the one accusing my guy Bochan of liking young girls. What a hypocrite young lady.
While Alice and Bokan enjoy their little moment, Viola watches from a distance, throwing some shade at Rob, saying Bakan's lucky to have Alice and him around. She warns Rob to make sure Bakan grows up right, or their younger brother will snatch the family headroll. Rob thanks her, noting that under her tough critic persona, she's secretly soft for Bokan. Viola's embarrassed, but smiles. Before heading home, later, Rob hands her the biscuits they made and tells her to visit again. Viola gets lost in thoughts of Rob, dreaming of all the sweet moments. The next day, Alice hits the ice for some skating, while Bokan lounges on the sidelines, soaking in the view. Suddenly, a crow lands next to him and starts calling Alice beautiful. Bokan thinks he's losing it at first, but then the crow keeps on with the compliments. Turns out, the crow's not some random bird. He's Zane, a magic user and Cuff's buddy. After Alice finishes skating, Zane turns human and introduces himself. Boshan's having none of it, telling Zane to stay away from Alice. But Zane's all, she's cute. He then rants about how much he loves women and how they dress for men. Bakan shuts him down cold, saying women dress for themselves, not for dudes like him. As Zane wonders where Cuff's at, Alice reveals a bat snuggling up to her. The guys stare in shock, watching as the bat shifts into human form. Yep, it's Cuff. After greeting Zane, Cuff turns her attention to Alice and Bokan, demanding to try ice skating. Zane can't resist comparing her to Alice, saying Alice is way more refined. Cuff, pissed off, tells him to shut it. She's fine just the way she is. After bickering like they've known each other forever, Cuff grabs Zane by the waist, dragging him into a spin. She skates circles around him, then calls Alice to join in, who rops Boshan into the mess too. When it's time to bail, Cuff and Zane drop a serious bomb. They're taking Bokan to the witch's sabbath on the next blood moon. Zane's all mysterious, saying they can't spill witch tea, but if Bokan wants answers on who cursed him, that's the spot. But hey, better watch his back in case things get real ugly. The next night, Viola spills to Alice that she's all about Rob, but Bokan told her to stop acting like a drama queen. Deepening. Viola pouts and snuggles up to Alice, gossiping about their love lives. Alice admits she loves Boken for saving her and giving her life some damn meaning. Viola's sure Alice isn't blind to her brother's smooth moves though. Then, Viola starts whining about her mom never loving her, wishing someone would just pamper the hell out of her. She drifts off to sleep, leaving Alice low-key impressed by how cute she is, realizing she's got that same charm as Boken. Soon enough, Boken strolls in to find Alice all cuddled up with Viola. Jealousy hits like a truck. He wants to be the one in her arms. Alice, being her usual tease, tells Boken to shower Viola with compliments when she wakes up. When he asks why, Alice smirks, saying it's cause she wants Viola to feel like a damn princess. The day starts like usual. Alice brings tea for Boken, and he casually comments on her outfit, feeling like it's too revealing. He suggests she needs something more proper. Alice shows him pictures of herself in various dresses, but none of them hit the mark for Boken. Annoyed, Alice jokes she'll just stop wearing clothes altogether. Boken, wanting some peace and quiet, heads to the conservatory, only to find it overtaken by vines and trees. Clearly irritated, he grumbles, and Alice apologizes, admitting she's let it go. Boken, realizing the mansion's too big for just the two of them to maintain, asks Alice to clean up. To his surprise, she pulls gardening tools from her jugs and gets to work. Reminds me of those Eastern Asian aunties who pull out just about anything from their natural racks.
Your search history must be one hell of a place to visit.
Alice seems ready for anything as she pulls out the gardening tools, and Boken, itching to help, uses his curse to make the trees wither. He thinks about the witch who cursed him, how she tied him down with rules. Anything he touches with bare hands is destroyed, but with gloves, nothing happens. The witch clearly wanted him under control, and damn, she's done a good job of it so far. Snapping out of his thoughts, he catches Alice admiring the flowers. She casually asks him to remove them, saying she's tired of them. Not missing a beat, Boken crafts a garland of wilted flowers for her, offering it as his symbol of love. When Alice smiles, he silently promises he won't stay cursed forever. He'll get his freedom. He'll find clues at the witch's sabbath, and then he'll live freely with Alice, finally accepted by his mother. Later, Boken hears Alice scream. Rushing over, he sees a mischievous cat has stolen her gown. Alice, taking full advantage of the situation, teases him mercilessly. Focused on the task, Boken tries to stay calm, but the teasing gets to him. Eventually, he finds the gown, shredded by the cat. Alice's disappointment stings. How can she be this innocent? Then, Alice decides to return Boken's jacket by stripping in front of him. Nothing underneath. Panic hits him. He stops her and suggests she shower before bed. Alice, ever bold, asks if he wants to join her. Boken bolts, fearing his willpower won't survive the temptation. A few days later, Cuff and Zane arrive at the manor, ready to take Boken to the witch's sabbath. Boken is freaking out about meeting witches, while Alice stays cool as a cucumber. Zane and Cuff show up to see him armed with kitchen utensils. They tell him to chill. He'll be fine as long as the witches don't find out he's human. Boken wonders why Cuff and Zane are going this far to help him, but quickly shakes off the thought. He takes the cape from Zane, which will mask his scent. Zane opens a portal, and Boken and Alice step into the witchy realm, instantly overwhelmed by the bizarre creatures. A masked witch kicks things off with an attendance check. Zane whispers with her, and Daleth, the leader, questions who the newcomers are. Cuff, trying to make a clever move, messes up and claims they're relatives. The witches cheer as the sabbath begins. After a long speech, Daleth ends it, leaving Boken disappointed. With nothing else to do, Alice approaches Daleth, who greets her like an old friend. Turns out, she's the same witch Alice met during the festival. When Alice asks about her mom, Daleth cryptically mentions she knew her briefly. Boken joins the chat and is recognized by Daleth, who reveals she knew the witch who cursed him. But when he asks more, Daleth snaps, burns his cloak in rage, and the witches go wild, chasing Boken and Alice. Realizing they're in deep, Zane opens a portal, and they escape just in time. Back at the mansion, Boken asks why the witches helped him. Cuff admits she was impressed by his dedication to Alice and decided to befriend him. Grinning, Boken tells them they're always welcome at his place. After they leave, Boken tells Alice he's happy to have new friends. Seeing him so content, Alice's heart softens, and she promises to break his curse with him, no matter what.
As usual, Alice serves Boken his tea, and like a total loner, he can't help but fixate on her outfits. He tells her she should wear something that isn't straight up dark all the time, maybe try a white dress for a change. The thought of Alice in a gown messes with his head, and his face turns as red as a tomato. Panicking, he tries to push the thoughts away, but ends up looking like a complete loser. The next day, Boken spots a weird-ass pot that looks way too much like him. Curious, he asks Alice why it's in the mansion. Alice, all excited like a total geek, explains it's a magic pot made by a witch. She pulls out a recipe book like she's about to cook up some serious witchcraft. Boken's unimpressed as hell, but Alice is not hearing it. She goes on about making a love potion for him, and like a sucker, he's forced to help. As they mix the ingredients, Alice drops the bomb. This pot can actually talk. Now Boken's thinking it might be good for more than just making potions. But then, the room fills with thick smoke from the magic. Once it clears, Alice asks him to stir the damn mixture. When he finishes, Alice tells him the truth. It's not a love potion. It's some bullshit remedy for his curse. Boken's not pissed, though. He expected the curse to stay because Daleth already warned him breaking it wasn't gonna be easy. In the end, he hands the pot off to Rob, thinking it'd be a fun joke for the house. But when he catches Viola giving it the stink eye like she's about to murder it, he starts thinking the pot's in danger. Later, Alice hands him a music sheet by some jerk named named McFarlane. She explains if he plays it right, he could break the curse, but if he messes it up, he'll lose his damn mind. Balkan, skeptical as always, tries it anyway. Suddenly, McFarlane's ghost pops up out of nowhere. Alice watches, thinking Boshan's lost it. He tries to explain, but McFarlane reveals only the person playing the music can see him. McFarlane turns to Alice, hitting on her like some creepy old dude, but Alice shuts him down cold. She tells him she respects gentlemen, not the lame, washed-up jerks.
This Einstein-looking dude really thinks he got a chance?
Einstein? He looks more like a mixture of Alexander the Great and Aristotle.
Are we seriously comparing this idiot to geniuses and a literal king?
Heartbroken, McFarlane tries to distract Bochan, but the young master nails the tune, making the ghost vanish like a fart in the wind. But when the curse stays put, Bochan screams in frustration. The next day, he knocks on Alice's door only to find her in an outfit that's way too revealing. His face goes beet red, and he quickly slams the door, wondering if Alice even sees him as a man. Bochan remembers something Viola said about getting a woman's heart racing to win her over. He decides to try and scare Alice with a creepy painting of a woman crying bloody tears. But instead, Bochan gets freaked out himself, knocking over a vase that's super precious to Rob. The butler gives him that deadly glare, and Bochan's off to hide. Alice joins him in the closet, and they end up under the bed, playing hide and seek. Alice teases him for a bit, then asks if he wants to grow up. Bochan admits he wants to start drinking so he can feel more confident around her, which makes Alice smile. She tells him she's touched by his honesty. Flustered, Bochan smiles back, feeling like he's finally made an impression. Then, Rob hunts them down, and Bochan's ready to get yelled at for breaking the vase. But to his surprise, Rob tells him they found some hidden jewelry in the soil thanks to the vase. Apparently, some old servants used to steal jewelry from Rob's family and hide it in the pots. Thanks to Bochan, they found priceless heirlooms. But Rob's still pissed and says they'll have a nice long talk about the vase. Later, Bochan wakes up in a strange forest, confused as hell, and sees Alice there too. She explains how they were reading in the library, trying to find a cure for his curse. They randomly picked a book, and bam, a fairy appeared. She told them to find a white rabbit with a pocket watch, and in exchange, she'd grant them a wish. Alice lost consciousness after that, and now they're in this weird place, likely still asleep in the library. The two decide to find the rabbit and wish away Bochan's curse. Alice gets a little bold and makes him touch her, jug, but Bochan's bummed because he can't feel anything in this dream world. Out of nowhere, a rabbit hops by and they chase it. They share a few sweet moments before reaching a cliff. Alice, all serious now, asks Bochan for a kiss. Right when he's about to give her one, they wake up from the dream. Bochan wishes he could keep it going.
Hey guys, I know I'm interrupting the video, but I'm just here to remind you that most of you guys watching this video are not actually subscribed to the channel. So if you're enjoying this video so far, make sure you click that subscribe button and hit the notification bell for more updates in the future. Now let's get straight back into the video.
The next day, Cuff shows up, trying to prove she's not as clueless as Zane thinks by learning the alphabet in the most disastrous way possible. Everyone quickly realizes she's not exactly the sharpest tool in the shed when it comes to studying. Wanting to change the subject, Bochan asks where Zane is, and Cuff excitedly reveals he's at the circus. Bochan's taken aback. Has Zane decided to become an entertainer? Cuff explains that with their unique appearances, joining the circus was their best bet. She even thinks Zane's clever for blending in so well. Bochan's not convinced though. Rob then tells Cuff to study hard and learn her ABCs. Meanwhile, Walter strolls through the hall, charming the housemaids left and right. Viola rolls her eyes, calling him a cheap idol. Walter brushes off the insult and asks if she's planning to visit their cursed brother, Bochan. Viola snaps back, saying it's none of his business. Walter reminds her he'll inherit everything soon. Viola hits back, reminding him he's second-born. If Bochan breaks his curse, he might be the one chosen as heir. Walter loses it, throwing himself on the floor, whining about how that's the one thing that really gets under his skin. Later, he confesses to Viola that he hates Bochan for being born first. Annoyed by Walter's whining, Viola tells him to find a hobby instead of moping around. Walter heads to Bochan's place, but when Viola arrives, she spots Cuff and assumes she's a burglar. Eager to earn some head pats from Rob, Viola tries to capture Cuff, only to be thrown off by Cuff's surprising strength. Stunned by the unexpected resistance, Viola curses her mom for not passing down any muscle. Meanwhile, Cuff mistakes Viola's actions for attention-seeking behavior, like a child throwing a tantrum. After some struggle, Viola finally manages to tie Cuff up, but the latter just sits there, unfazed. While they talk, Cuff tells Viola she reminds her of Bochan, which annoys Viola since she hates being compared to him. Just then, Bochan, Alice, and Rob walk in. Seeing Viola in such a compromising position with Cuff, they silently leave, deciding to give them some space. Later that night, Alice and Bochan bond over chess. Alice comments that snowstorms remind her of the first time she entered this place. Flashback to to Rob entering Boken's room, finding it destroyed again. He announces he's hired a new maid for Boken. When Boken sees Alice, he's flustered and orders her to leave. But Alice isn't afraid of his temper and tries to remind him they've known each other since childhood. This only makes things worse. And Boken snaps, telling her not to remind him of the past. The next day, Boken grows even colder, ordering Alice to clean his wrecked room in 3 days or she's fired. Alice, seeing right through his anger, decides to clean the mess alone, taking no offense at his cruelty.
Bro is doing everything but level up his Riz game.
He can't rizz her up if she is already rizzed. Okay, let's start talking in English now. In the dim room, Alice picks up the broken glass, thinking about how Boken used to be a decent guy before turning into a jerk. The next morning, Boken walks in, stunned to see the room cleaned, and realizes he's been an ass. He feels guilty and starts crying, but Alice, as usual, just stays there like nothing happened. Fed up with himself, Boken storms off into the snowy night, letting all his dark thoughts take over. He curses that damn witch for ruining his life. He ends up collapsing, feeling like total crap. But then he thinks of Alice and wishes for one last chance to see her. Out of nowhere, she shows up, but he tells her he's done and doesn't want to go on anymore. Alice, pissed off, throws snow in his face, calling him selfish for giving up on everyone who cares. She reminds him how he helped her when she was weak, and those words finally smack some sense into him. He gets up and follows her back home. Rob, seeing Boken alive, asks if he and Alice are finally getting along. After a second of hesitation, Boken admits he likes her. Just then, Alice checkmates him in their chess game, admitting she moved a few pieces while he was stuck in his head. Frustrated, Boken grumbles that it's impossible not to like her. On Christmas Eve, Viola asks for gift ideas for Rob. Boken suggests glasses, but Viola wants to look into Rob's eyes, not through them. Alice then proposes a handkerchief, which Viola jumps on and runs off to buy. Meanwhile, Alice helps Boken get ready, teasing him a little, mentioning how she'd love to spend Christmas Eve alone with him. Boken gets hyped and tells his staff to lock the doors so they're undisturbed. Alice laughs and reminds him that Cuff and Zane are coming. Realizing it's a party, Boken panics, thinking his awkwardness will ruin everything. Alice calms him, telling him to just be himself. Back at Boken's place, Viola gets scolded by her mom Gerbera for being out all day. Gerbera criticizes her fashion choices, making Viola feel down. In response, Viola decides to spend Christmas with Boken and Rob instead. Walter, annoyed by his sister's preference for Boken, dresses up as a carriage driver and follows her. At Boken's mansion, Alice and Boken greet Zane and Cuff, who've brought a Christmas tree. Cuff, all excited about Santa Claus, reminds Boken of a child who still believes in fairy tales. As they decorate the tree, Zane tells Boken he likes Cuff. Boken encourages him to tell her, but when Zane tries, Cuff's already passed out. Viola rushes into the mansion, dropping Rob's gift. Walter, seeing it, thinks it's for Boken and gets jealous. He sneaks in, finds the house empty, and assumes Boken's lonely, making him feel smug. Finding a Santa costume, Walter decides to play Santa. Cuff spots him and, all hyped, mistakes him for the real deal. Cuff demands her gift, and Walter, thinking it's for him, hands over Viola's present. Cuff gets hyped, decides to play Santa's helper, and accidentally drops Walter into the chimney. The others freeze, shocked, until Viola recognizes him. A brawl erupts when Cuff returns with the present, and Viola demands it back. Meanwhile, Walter confronts Boken, bitter about his life. Boken steps in to stop the fight between the girls and gets Viola's thanks. Walter challenges Boken to uncover the truth of his curse first, with the family title on the line. Boken accepts, and Walter tries to make a dramatic exit, but ends up looking like an idiot.
Bro is the middle child. Leave him alone.
Well, he can stop embarrassing himself for a change. The party wraps up without any more drama. As everyone leaves, Alice demands a kiss under the mistletoe. Boken trips, giving Alice the chance to tease him. He then reminds her how she saved him years ago, when he wanted to give up on life. He confesses his feelings by the fireplace, telling her he likes her. Alice is stunned, but Boken assures her they'll live together, making her smile. In the present, Boken reflects on how he has people who care for him, all thanks to Alice. Alice, laying in the snow, promises to live her life with him forever. Alice recalls her childhood, where she adored her mom Sharon, the head maid, who was loved by everyone but still got side-eyed by the maids for not being tough enough. Sharon tried to show some edge but ended up butchering the act, and Alice, ever the supportive daughter, still showered her with praise. But honestly, Alice's real joy came from watching Boken, and Sharon, the ever-astute mom, caught on and teased Alice about her crush, promising to support her love story. When Rob showed up with his scary face, Alice dove behind Sharon like a ninja, but Rob acted all friendly, making Alice realize he wasn't the terrifying monster she thought. Sharon then promised to protect Alice, but you know, life's cruel and she couldn't keep that promise. Present day, Alice grips her mother's locket like it's her lifeline, remembering the past with a soft smile. The next day, Zane is busy spying on Cuff because, according to Viola, she's way too attached to him. him. Zane watches her try to buy fruit with a cat-shaped stone, which is about as useful as a chocolate teapot. After a series of epic fails, Cuff finally manages to buy the fruit like a grown-up, and Zane silently cheers her on like a proud parent. Suddenly, a little thief tries to snatch Cuff's cash. Cuff, being the badass she is, stops him mid-crime, and then in a true hero move, saves the kid from falling. The boy apologizes, and Cuff, like a true saint, forgives him. Then she looks at the fruit carnage and sighs like a person who just lost their last fry. Zane, out of nowhere, swoops in to help her clean up. Later that night, Alice finds Boshan pacing the hall like he's in a drama scene, unable to sleep. Alice, always ready to spice things up, offers to help him sleep by getting into bed with him. Boken, already sweating, panics and tries to backtrack, but Alice runs off to grab her pajamas, leaving him in a hot mess of nerves. When they're in bed together, Boken admits that her mere presence is making him feel like he's on fire. Alice, being the absolute tease she is, decides to unbutton her shirt, making Boshan short-circuit with nerves. He's all flustered, shouting about how two unmarried people can't share a bed, and Alice, unbothered, buttons up and casually asks about his feelings for his mom. Boken, now a mess of emotions, reflects on his past with Gerbera, realizing he once hated her, but now wants to break the curse and confess his love.
I swear to God, if my mother wore such dark makeup every day, I would be scared of her too.
You are one to say with that ugly face of yours. Boken says if his mom doesn't approve of their relationship, he'll cut ties with his family, but Alice quickly shuts him down, telling him not to even think about it. Boken shrugs it off, saying breaking the curse comes first. Feeling sleepy, he tells Alice he can't wait to dream about her, and she promises to wake him up with a smile. The next day, Boken proudly shows off the mittens Alice knitted for him, prompting Rob to smile and comment on how much he's grown. Rob remembers when Boshan was cursed and how he was afraid to raise him at first. He realized Boshan needed warmth and companionship, which led him to bring Alice into the picture, a decision that would change everything for Boken. Now, Rob feels bad for Alice after she confided in him that she didn't want Boshan to sever ties with his family for her sake. Later that night, Boken plays the piano while Alice sings. He asks her to sing The Owl and the Pussycat, and after she finishes, Boken tells her he's been much happier with her around and vows to break the curse and whisk her away. Alice tells him it's time for her to go, but as she walks away, she sighs, knowing she'll eventually have to leave him when the curse is broken. Unexpectedly, Bokan runs after her, determined to escort her and treat her like a lady. Alice, amused, whispers the true meaning of the song in his ear before heading to her room, leaving him lost in thought. Viola's on a mission to break Boken's curse, but Walter's just being a whiny brat, trying to one-up his older bro every chance he gets. Every time she tries to get something done, he's throwing a tantrum. She finds a servant's logbook and takes it to her room, but Walter, being the clumsy mess he is, ends up stuck in a barrel. Viola doesn't even care enough to help him out. On her way out, she runs into Gerbera, who wastes no time throwing her into some frumpy dress. Viola feels like she's wrapped in curtains, complaining non-stop. Gerbera's like, "This is better than your usual kid outfits," and Viola snaps, asking if she can't just wear what she wants and live her own damn life. Gerbera coldly shuts her down with a nope. Pissed off and feeling totally done, Viola bolts to Boken's place to vent. She starts trash-talking their mom, but Boken's not having it, telling her it's cruel. Viola, acting like a toddler, breaks down into tears and demands Rob give her a hug.
The sister has got a better Riz game than her brother.
Shameful, Boken. How can you not flirt with the girl you like every other second, right? Boken tries to smooth things over, telling Viola she looks fine in the dress. But before he can get another word in, Alice cuts in, pointing out that it's way deeper than just the damn dress. Viola flips out and declares she's moving into the mansion right now. Boken, shocked, shoots her down. Viola's on her knees begging, offering to work as a maid just to be close to him. Rob strolls in, casually compliments Viola, and boom, she's completely distracted. Later, Viola's hyped up about throwing a girl's sleepover, so she, Alice, and Cuff start shooting the breeze about love, cracking jokes that they might end up alone with just their damn pets. Out of nowhere, Thea pops in with a servant's logbook that could have the key to breaking Boshan's curse. The girls are all cozy, laughing, and vibing, not even realizing Daleth is watching them like a hawk. She's done playing games and calls up Zane to send a big, fat message to her little pals. The next day, Alice digs through the servant's logbook when Rob comes and sits next to her. As she flips through the pages, her eyes go wide when she reads about two nuns visiting the mansion. Realizing they were probably witches, Alice immediately asks Rob if he remembers this event. Rob shakes his head, leaving Alice feeling defeated. Just then, Zane shows up with Daleth's message, and Alice finds out that Daleth wants to be friends. Both Alice and Balkan are confused, so Zane explains that in witch speak, Daleth is telling them to stay out of witch business. After assuring them that he and Cuff are on their side, Zane asks Balkan for a bro night. Later that night, Zane sneaks off and swipes Alice's logbook. Turns out, Daleth had ordered him to destroy the book before it uncovered something shady about her. Zane refused at first, but when Daleth threatened Cuff's life, he caved. Just as Zane is about to burn the book, Balkan shows up, and Zane spills everything. With the truth out, Zane hands the logbook over to Balkan, admitting that he'd do anything for Cuff. But this felt wrong. Balkan smiles and tells Zane to go ahead and burn it, saying he doesn't want anything bad happening to his friends. As Zane gets all emotional, he cracks a joke, but warns Balkan that Daleth has been keeping tabs on him and Alice for a while now. Zane's pretty sure Daleth's got her eyes on them, but he knows she can't hear a word of their convo. Without wasting time, Zane tells Balkan there's a way to save Cuff without torching the logbook. With the snap of his fingers, he disintegrates it, keeping just a piece. He then drops the bomb that, with his magic, they can put the book back together whenever they need to dig up the dirt. But he won't do it until Daleth stops spying, and he warns Balkan to keep his magic under wraps. Only he and Cuff are in the know. Balkan nods, and they put on a whole act, making Daleth think the book's gone for good. Back at the mansion, Balkan reassures Alice the logbook's safe since he snagged it to give it a proper read. Out of nowhere, he swears to protect her, echoing her mother's words from the past. Meanwhile, Zane continues his dumb act in front of Daleth, who's getting a good laugh out of it. She's all about karma and faith, so she raises a coffin to show Sharon's body, asking if she's been right all along. At the mansion, Balkan gets his first letter from his mom in ages. Gerbera wants to see him in a week. She's got something important to tell him. Balkan's not exactly hyped about heading to the main house. He's always let Rob deal with the family drama, so this is new territory. Alice notices the tension and asks, so Balkan spills the beans. This is his first time stepping foot in the family mansion since the curse hit, and he got tossed here. He's not about to meet his mom Gerbera before breaking the curse. Seeing how jittery he is, Alice offers to roll with him, which gives him a bit of peace. He decides he's finally gonna come clean to Gerbera about his thing with Alice. Meanwhile, Cuff and Zane roll up to the mansion, but the duo's already split. Zane's not about to waste his time, so Rob fills him in that Alice and Balkan are dealing with a trial they can't avoid. On the wagon ride, Alice asks Balkan if he remembers anything about his family's place, but he just remembers messing around, playing the piano. When he flips the question back at Alice, she just says she only remembers the time she spent with him. They pull up to the mansion, and Viola's there, all serious, saying Boshan needs to meet with their mom right away. Alice wishes him luck and takes off to check on the servants. Balkan heads in, only to be greeted by the jittery staff, all nervous like they're about to get yelled at. As Viola drags Balkan to Gerbera's room, Walter pops up and drops the bombshell that he's ratted out Viola for sneaking around to see Balkan. Balkan, calm as ever, throws some sarcasm at Walter, calling him a gentleman, which only makes Walter's blood boil. When they finally step into the room, Gerbera gives Balkan the coldest reception. She points out it's been 10 years since he got cursed, and still no progress. With the night getting late, she coldly tells him they'll talk tomorrow. Nervous, Balkan tries to speak up, but Gerbera shuts him down, reminding him they'll talk when she's ready. Balkan leaves, a little confused, but later realizes that was Gerbera being lenient. Meanwhile, Alice is treated warmly by the servants and decides to check out her mom's old room. On her way, she bumps into Gerbera, who, for a second, mistakes Alice for Sharon. Realizing her mistake, Gerbera quickly bolts, leaving Alice to process that her mom and Gerbera were once super close. Alice also learns that Gerbera was a lot happier when Sharon was around. That night, Alice returns to her room, and Balkan stops by. She asks how the meeting with Gerbera went, and Balkan complains that she's still as cold as ever. As they chat, Balkan admits he misses Alice, but when he can't kiss her because of his curse, he gets frustrated and decides to crash. The next day, Viola takes Boshan to the spot where he was cursed. Seeing it triggers memories of that spring day when he was out looking for a clover to give Alice and got grabbed from behind before the curse hit. After recalling all the painful memories, Balkan and Viola head inside, where Gerbera is still giving off major boss vibes. When she leaves, Viola tells Balkan he's lucky to be away from her strict rules. At dinner, Gerbera drops the bomb. Balkan has till spring to break the curse, or Walter's taking over the family.
Here comes the real deal. Mommy Gerbera. You just wait.
Wait, is Balkan really going to tell his mother about Alice? Balkan, fed up and sick of Gerbera's crap, accepts her stupid decision But when he tries to talk about Alice, she shuts him down like he's nothing. She straight up tells him that as a freaking aristocrat, he can't be with a maid. That pushes Balkan over the edge. He snaps and tells her off, calling out how she's always treated him and his siblings like dirt. He says he's had enough of her crap and announces he's marrying Alice, then storms out, with Walter and Viola trailing behind. When he walks out of that mansion, he finally earns his siblings' respect. Back home, they chill with a game of chess, while Balkan explains the mess with his mom. Rob, done with his cards, leaves to crash. When it's just Alice and Bo-chan, he tells her he laid it all out to Gerbera. He laughs, saying she didn't even care. Out of nowhere, Balkan stands up like he owns the place and says he's loving Alice for the rest of his life. Later, as he's passed out sleeping, Alice tucks him in and whispers that she loves him too, and this is where our story ends.
And that was the ending. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you guys in the next one.
See you next time!